Guys, the numbers don't lie, and they are in for Meghan Markle's series with Love Meghan because Netflix is reporting that for the first week of her release, there was a grand total of, wait for it, 2.6 million views. Yes. Yes. For a deal Netflix supposedly paid upward of $100 million for. It was 10th on the global list and it was beaten by a show that is not even available to view in the United States. So, congratulations, Meghan Markle, because this is an unmitigated disaster for Netflix. Meghan's series is not doing as well as it should. Sure, is it doing okay? Yes. But is it doing what it needs to do? No. And in fact, I pulled up the numbers, and for last year, because I totally missed that Netflix released this much earlier than they have been, Harry's series Polo completely bombed. In fact, for all of 2024, the couple had, wait for it, 3.3 million views overall. Some of their stuff was so bad it didn't even track in the top like 7,000 shows. This deal is a wreck for Netflix. And if Meghan Markle is thinking that With Love Meghan will keep them around, I just really highly doubt it. Every indicator in the book says that Netflix should drop Harry and Meghan. So we are going to go into the nitty gritty of this because I love numbers, because numbers generally don't lie. They're pretty easy to look at and analyze, and it gives us a good metric of where Meghan Markle should be and where she definitely is not. But if you haven't been to Royal News Network before, hello, my name is Brittany. I provide compelling royal commentary. So if you guys want to hit that subscribe button, I would absolutely love to have you back. We have an amazing community here, and an amazing community of us are headed to the south of France the end of September, the 25th through the 30th. We're already talking about what clothes we want to bring because, you know, it's going to be in the south of France and it's going to be all cool and cozy in Monaco and everything. So if you guys are interested in checking that out, there will be a link down below if you want to come and join us. We still have several spots left available, and it's definitely a confirmed trip. So we are going. It's going to be a fantastic time, a great group of people going who have been on trips a couple of times now. So it's just going to be a whole lot of fun. So if you guys want to join us and check it out, feel free again to click on the link up above. All right, guys. I didn't know I would get this blessing, and I was so excited because Netflix started releasing what they call what we watched list. And when they did it, it was like 6 months post the end of the year. I think they did it for the first half of 2023 and then released it in like September or something, and then the next one later, but they're getting faster at releasing them. So I was expecting the last half of 2024 to come out, let's say in May, but no, it came out late February, and it revealed a lot about Harry and Meghan's status. And I was looking for more information. I'm like, wow, they are really very, very abysmal. Their performances are abysmal at Netflix. I cannot fathom, guys, how they would get re-signed or even extended on their contract, because the numbers we're seeing here are not good. Definitely not where they should be in the slightest. But I thought it would be good. Let's go ahead and start, you could say, back at the beginning, because I want to show you guys sort of what we're looking at here in terms of the what we watched, because this reveals so much. It reveals so much. So this is the list for July to December 2024. So it gives you here, this is just Excel spreadsheet. You get it from their website. You go there, click, I want to see more. And it gives you this entire Excel spreadsheet. And what it does, it breaks it down in a couple of ways. Hours viewed, and then they divide out that by runtime. And that's how they get the number of views. Spent way too much time trying to calculate that and realized the way I was doing it was wrong. So I was like getting the same information. So these are what performed well, you could say, within the top 10 or so. You got Squid Game season 2, The Perfect Couple, the Lila Menendez story, Emily in Paris, Nobody Wants This, La Palma, Jake Paul versus Mike Tyson, which is actually a live show, if my recollection is correct. The Accident, Black Doves, Cobra Kai, and American Murder, about the, let's say, the top 10 here. And the list actually goes on into infinity. So it goes down to 6,889, although it's more like 6,886 or 82 or something. I can't quite remember. But anyways, so this goes on for a long, long time. And it ends with 100,000 views. So if your show gets below 100,000 views, they don't even calculate it. So let me show you something very cool. So we got Heart of Invictus. Excel couldn't find that. Let's try Live to Lead. Microsoft can't find that one either. Now, if we do Harry and Meghan. So sorry, it was like not searching correctly. I was like, I know this is here. I saw it. So we do have the Harry and Meghan limited series right here. So it is still tracking. It is 2,234 on the list. Again, this is for the last half of 2024. And it got 5.4 million watch hours, which equals to about 900,000 views. So that is where this show currently stands. That's where it currently stands. So gives you guys a good estimate right here. So we did have one new release from Harry and Meghan during this time, and it was called Polo. Guess where that one landed? Further down on the list, yes. So it released on December 10th, and it currently sits at 600,000 views. So yeah, for the last half of 2024, Harry and Meghan gave Netflix a grand total of 1.5 million views. Maybe a little bit of change if we add on, let's say each show, Heart of Invictus and Live to Lead, got 50,000 views. So we're looking at 1.6 million views. I make more than that in a month. And it's just me in my computer, in my home, not being funded by Netflix. So that gives you an indication of what this has done recently. Now let's look at the first half of 2024, because again, always good to lay a foundation. That way we all understand where we're at, where we're going, what everything's looking like. All right, guys, so let's now move over to the first half of 2024. You can see it right here, Jan through June 2024. This is from Netflix directly. And it has Harry and Meghan's limited series doing slightly better at 1.8 million. So between the first half and the last half of 2024, it halved its audience. So half of its audience left. Let's see what things look like in 2023. So the only thing I want to point out here real quick is something I'll get back to, which is that I can't remember exactly what it was, but one piece here, which was the top performing show of that time period, has a massive global audience. It was like number one in like 80 plus countries or 90 countries or something like that. It was basically number one in almost every single Netflix sphere, or in the top 10. I can't quite remember which, but I think it was actually number one in like dozens and dozens of countries. This is important to remember because Netflix is not just a little company based in the United States that really is looking for a US audience. It's looking for a global audience. So Harry and Meghan, where is that on the list? Okay, doing slightly better, had 1.9 million views here. So tracking about the same. Hasn't changed very much, has it? So it's tracking pretty well. But then we do have that decrease, which I would argue is kind of concerning. And then what about Live to Lead? And just making sure we are Heart of Invictus. No. So Heart of Invictus and Live to Lead didn't even track. So for the last half of 2023, you could argue that there were only 2 million views for any of Harry and Meghan's content. That's really bad. That's really, really bad. Okay, let's look at the first half of 2023. Again, I think it's just good to give us a history here so we can all track everything. So when I show you the Meghan numbers, you'll see where the concern should be. Okay, I may have to show you that list again because Heart of Invictus should have tracked and I might have totally missed it. Anyways, let's move on. So this is the first half of 2023. And as a reminder, Harry and Meghan's show came out in late 2022 in December. So we got Harry and Meghan. So this had 62 million hours viewed. So to get the actual, it didn't tell us how long. Let's do some simple math. Well, look it up here. How long is Harry and Meghan's series? We'll just go with 6 hours of content because honestly, this stuff gives me a headache. So anyways, we get here and we have Harry and Meghan's limited series, and it has 62 million watch hours. 5 by 6 equals, so that's 10 million views, 10.3 million views, guys. I'm writing it down on my little post-it. 10.3 million views. And that's just, guys, for the first half of 2023. That does not count the actual initial release. So I would say maybe double that. So overall, maybe 30 plus million views. That's not out of the realm of possibility in the slightest. So that's a lot. That's 100% a lot. And Heart of Invictus, which was in the last half of 2023, did get, I believe it was 400,000 views. So let me just make sure I got that right. So Heart of Invictus got, oh, it's even less than that. My apologies. Oh, yeah, that's right. I got 400,000 views for my review of Harry's series. His series only got 300,000 views. Okay, so let's make sure we've got the math correct here. Oh, and I think wasn't Live to Lead on, I think Live to Lead was on this. Yes, Live to Lead had 2.3 million views. How many? 1 hour, 2 hour, 3 hours. Let's say 3.5 hours. And it was viewed, Live to Lead. All right. So actually, Live to Lead did much better than I thought it might. It got 657,000 views. So we have 10.3 million views for Harry and Meghan. Let's double that to 30 million in the first weeks of its release. Now it's 1.9, 1.9, and then 9,000. That's pretty bad. Let's do again math. Times 2 equals plus 900K. And I would invite everybody to do their own math because it's not my specialty. So overall, the series since June of 2023 got 4.7 million views. Heart of Invictus managed to scrounge out 300,000 views. Live to Lead inexplicably got 657,000 views, if my math is not wrong. But then cratered into oblivion. So it probably actually rode pretty high because of the Harry and Meghan series and then just cratered. So why are we doing all of this? Why are we going back in the past and looking at the metrics? Because Harry and Meghan went from 30 plus million views to, drumroll please, 2.6 million. Woohoo! So yes, despite all the global coverage, despite all the noise on social media, the show only debuted at number 10 globally. Number 10, the best it's ever going to do, and garnered 2.6 million views. 12 million 0.6 watch hours. Now, or hours viewed, they say. Now, a couple things I want to be clear here. Having been on YouTube for a while, guys, I can tell you right now that oftentimes hours viewed means a lot more than views themselves. And that's because it's a longer time for ads to run, which means more potential revenue. So just as an example, I've had technically 3 videos on the fashion channel get upwards or close to 1 million. I had a 3 million video about the Jordanian royal wedding, which average watch time I don't even think was a minute, but it got 3 million views. And then I had a video on the inauguration fashion, which had a much longer watch time and has not quite crossed the 1 million mark yet. But there's not that much of difference between what I made between the 2 videos. Why? Because one of them was watched longer, that means more ads, and the other one had more views, but fewer people watched it all the way through. That's something I want you to keep an eye on here because that's very, very important. Watch time is huge. Do not discount it. There's a reason why Netflix started out with its first report, just reporting hours viewed. Because when you have a tiered platform with advertisements, that advertisement means a lot. So let's compare Meghan's here. It's hard to glean, and I attempted to do the math, realizing I was just doing the math Netflix did to confuse. So dunce. Anyways, so what I want to sort of suss out here and highlight is how much time was viewed versus actual views, because that's a very important distinction here. So let's start off with running point, 61 million hours viewed, 12 million views. Good. Now this, and you get the runtime here. So we have 2 that are at the 5-hour mark, and Meghan's show was almost at the 5-hour mark, yet they both blew her out of the water in terms of hours viewed. So even though she got views, I would argue they were not long views. And to be clear here, The Hollywood Reporter says Netflix has reported some viewership figures and recently recorded earnings call, but they're not analogous with the Nielsen ratings. So it's important to note that Netflix considers a piece of content as having been viewed when a member account watches at least 70% of one episode of a series or 70% of a feature film. So that means whoever watched this had to watch 70%, but that might mean that a lot of these people didn't get all the way through. So it's kind of, again, this is all nebulous. we don't actually know all the numbers and information behind the scenes. This is all self-reported. But even self-reporting, this isn't good. And I'm kind of bummed I didn't realize that these two were so close. And I was like, oh, Megan's not. I just mentioned this one in an article. Anyways, so huge difference here in hours viewed and very similar watch time. And then we have this Gabby Petito one, which has a shorter runtime by 2.5, almost 3 hours, and yet clocked in 9 million hours viewed, which is only a little over 3 million behind Meghan's show. Obviously got more views overall, but I would say a lot more people were engaged in the Gabby Petito stuff than the Meghan stuff. And similar watch time. And then you have obviously this Toxic Town, which is very close, well, about an hour difference in watch time, still clocked more hours viewed and didn't even chart in the US as far as I'm aware. I don't remember seeing that show. I maybe have to look. Halo, which isn't even available here in the United States on Netflix. So when it comes to channels abroad, there are different things offered on different streaming platforms than are here. And so you can get some things on Netflix that are maybe licensed somewhere else in the States. They might be licensed somewhere else abroad. Complicated issues. Anyways, so this number 4 was not even charting in the United States because it didn't even exist in the United States on Netflix. It's on Paramount Plus if you're interested. Anyways, so not good. You have WWE Raw, which is one single program on March 3rd, and it gained 6.3 million hours viewed. Now shorter than Meghan's, but more views. And then we have Andrew Schultz, which basically is a 1-for-1. So the amount of people who viewed his show equaled the amount of hours viewed. I don't know how often that happens. Formula One had a longer watch time, but not as many hours viewed as you would expect given the length of the watch time. So that didn't do terribly well, but better than Meghan's. So what does all this mean? We got into the nitty gritty. You saw the numbers. Is that Meghan's show got 2.6 million views. Yeah, her probably initial series got 20 million views. So she's literally 90% behind where she was. And yes, the Harry and Meghan stuff on the royal family 100% was always going to sell. However, this should be very much a concern to Netflix. And I think they know that. They were really hoping that Meghan's series, I think, would perform better than it has. And yes, it's performed well, but to the best of its ability, no. It hasn't performed all that well. And the whole point of the show is to shill her products. And if her products can't be shilled because, oopsie doopsie, she didn't perform well on Netflix, it's a huge problem for them. It's a big problem for them. This is something that is unavoidable. The numbers, they don't lie. And again, I'm just guesstimating for the first half of 2022. It could have been even better. But it's obvious that there has been a sharp decline in the people watching their stuff. Yes, With Love Meghan did the best out of everything, but still not a runaway success. It is a mediocre success at best. I can't read the future, but I just cannot fathom why in the world Netflix would sign them for another $100 million deal of that. Netflix, I don't think will re-sign them. It's not worth it. The numbers just simply don't add up. Now, if her stuff sells like hotcakes and Netflix is making buku bucks from it, they may continue it. It may offset enough to have her stuff sell that it might be worthwhile for them to just keep at it. I don't think so. I mean, she's not selling anything that's even all that unique or interesting. So how am I as a consumer going to go, yeah, I want Meghan Markle stuff? I mean, I can get raspberry spread at the supermarket just down the street, or I can make it, but I really need Meghan stuff. Or I have a hankering for a pot of tea. I want to order the Meghan Markle thing. And then it's like, oh, well, I could also just go down the grocery store and pick up the exact same tea pretty much for a third or a half or a quarter of the cost. So I'll probably do that. This is not a sound strategy on Netflix's part. I don't know why in the world they went on with this nonsense, because Harry and Meghan, and this has been so proven over time, make a lot of noise, but this noise does not turn into financial dividends for them or their partners. It seems to only financially benefit people like me, the news media. Those are the people benefiting from Harry and Meghan, not Harry and Meghan or the people propping them up. And Netflix has to know that by this point. It would just be foolish and just simple like pride to not let them go. Like they would have to be so prideful, so trying to prove that signing these two was actually a good idea that they might keep them just to avoid the naysayers. But no, this is ridiculous. They failed. Just admit it. Just admit it. Just admit it was a bad investment. Like, I can't see how this would be a good investment in the slightest. The numbers simply aren't there. They're not there. So Netflix has a choice here. Do they continue the charade or do they let them go? I think it's time to let them go. Yes, they're going to shill her series later, but I would bet you that the watch time goes down and the viewership goes down because I think the huge chunk of especially after the first couple of days, those people watching it were watching it to watch and see if it was as bad as people were saying it was. That's why they were watching. They weren't watching to watch her succeed or because they were all that interested in what she had to say. They were watching to see if it was as awful as commentators were suggesting. That was the question. They wanted to watch the Mindy Kaling bust up and evaluate that for themselves. That was the interest. And so Meghan, unfortunately, has created a situation where I just don't think there's a future there at Netflix. I don't know what else they do. They're supposedly working on a scripted show or something. It's like, but how? How can you possibly, Netflix, fathom continuing this? Let it go. It didn't work. They tried their darndest, but this is not Harry and Meghan's gift. Their gift is not content creation. I don't know where their gift is, but it is not this. And Netflix is just wasting money because paying somebody $100 million, you should be getting a better return than just a measly 2.6 million views when you're in 300 million plus households around the globe. And I mentioned the One Piece bit earlier, and just to say, Netflix is a global market. It's global. And the thing about Meghan's show is it's highly, highly California wealthy woman based. I don't think it has a broad international appeal. And that's what Netflix needs to be going for and what they are going for. They say actually on here that international shows are doing better. Nearly a third of all viewing on Netflix came from non-English shows and films. And that's not just non-English speakers watching it. It's other people too, because there's so many dubs now. So I had a piece from Norway, La Palma, 52 million views. Mexico's The Accident, 41 million views. Among our most watched series in the second half, we also saw breakouts like Family Pack, 41 million. The Empress, 19 million. Senna, 15 million. 100 Years of Solitude from Colombia, 9 million. And then our South Korean and Japanese and Indian slates also had strong viewing. So we have Tokyo here, Tokyo Swindlers, Officer Black Belt, Maharaja, like all of these doing incredibly well because Netflix is increasingly becoming an international brand. And they want shows that appeal internationally. Apparently, somebody was saying, one of the Hollywood people I watched, that while Stranger Things performs well here in the States due to nostalgia factors for like the 1980s, it doesn't really perform well abroad because there's just not that connection. And I would argue Meghan's show has almost zero appeal abroad. I think those who follow the royals were sort of curious, but it's highly California. It's highly ridiculous and ludicrous, and it has no ability to capture a global audience. If Meghan was smart and her team was smart and Netflix was smart, they would try to make this appeal as globally as possible. But it's highly California. It's just too on the nose to actually really be, I think, appealable to a mass market. And that's, again, why Harry and Meghan probably are going to be let go. They can't get the views. They fail to, I think, appeal to a mass audience. And they have one of the biggest deals at Netflix, and they're simply not worth the money. Netflix got its pound of flesh with Harry and Meghan. They still want a bit of their pound of flesh with As Ever. But overall, they're not worth keeping, in my opinion. From what I can see of the numbers, they're just not worth keeping. And Netflix, it's up to them. I can't tell Netflix one way or the other, and neither can you, except for obviously through our watch time. But like from a business perspective, I just can't fathom why Netflix goes with them still. It's just the numbers aren't there. They're getting pennies compared to $100 bills that they used to get. And Netflix can't indulge that forever. They've tried. They've allowed them to do a bunch of different things, most of it all to failure. It's not going to get any better. The best thing for Netflix is to just cut them loose and move on. And I think that's what they're going to do. They do want whatever money they can get out of As Ever, but I just don't have high hopes for that. So we shall see, though. Let me know what you guys think. Let me know what you think of my numbers breakdown. All of this information is available. If you put in what we watch Netflix, you can find all this yourself and do all the math yourself. And let me know if you think I got my math wrong. I probably did, but I tried to do the best that I could. But let me know in the comments below what you think. Thank you so much for watching, and I shall talk to you again soon. Bye.